welcome back to Sprague Homestead. I know you've probably been wondering, where are we? We haven't really done any videos in about a month. And basically it just kind of comes down to the fact that this is probably the busiest season for us besides spring. We've been putting the garden to bed. You can kind of see behind me, everything's kind of looking pretty dead. Potatoes have been dug, cabbages have been pulled. The only thing left in the garden really, I've got some beets, some kale, some Brussels sprouts, some spinach, and a few collard greens that are actually still holding on. Everything else is pretty much kaput. That meant a lot of preserving. We've got onions drying in the shop, which I'll show you in a minute. So we've got all that going. We had the tomatoes in the dome, and they were hanging on for a while. We were making it through the 18 degree weather, and we got down to about 11 and they fried. So the tomatoes are done for the year. And like I said, pretty much everything else is too. I've been doing a lot of canning and tried out some new canning recipes this year, which I'll show you in a second. And just about ready to start pulling everything out, covering everything with some compost to sit all winter, and start closing the garden down for the fall. Alright, so here you can see our lovely onion harvest. So what we just pulled these here the other day. So we've got them laying on cardboard right now just to keep them up off the floor. And we'll let them dry like this for a few days. The shop is nice and warm. We're freezing at night outside, so we can't start getting them ready for storage outside. They were tremendously big. This was one of our better onion years here, believe it or not. But they were, they vary in size. We got some that are that big and some that are that big, and it kind of varied a little bit. Some of these I will end up chopping up and just putting them in the freezer to make it just easy for convenience type stuff. A whole bunch of them will probably get braided once they're dry a little bit. So some of them I'm just going to cut and actually, cut the roots off and store them just individually instead of braiding them out. So we will let these dry a little bit longer. And then I'll start cutting tops and root systems and all that fun stuff off once they get a little bit drier. But overall, not a bad onion harvest. Like I said, one of the biggest onion harvests we've had in a number of years. We did really good in Mississippi one year, but this has been by far the best one here. My reds didn't do very well. My whites and my yellows were not bad. I've got some Walla Walla sweets that are still out in the garden because I just ran out of space. And they were very hit and miss. I think we got like 3 onions that were, big onions, and the rest of them just didn't do much. So, I've got a new plan for next year on what we're going to do differently. And needless to say, if you had smell-o-vision, it smells a little bit like onions in here. So you might remember a while back, I was showing y'all pictures of the buffet cabinet and the mountain of squash that we had dubbed Mount Squashmore. Well, Mount Squashmore is pretty much no more. Yay. The zucchini and some of the yellow squash has become relish. And then I found a recipe online that I went ahead and tried. And this is mock pineapple. So it's basically chunks of squash canned in pineapple juice. And the directions that I found for doing it on the national, the National Council for Home Preserving or whatever it is. If I can find it, I'll have Kanan put a link in there. Does have a tried and true, safe to can water bath recipe. It's got pineapple juice and a whole lot of lemon juice in it. Does say to wait 30 days, and then it doesn't really taste right if you try and eat it out of the can. So it's not going to be like, you're not going to probably put it in a fruit salad, but we did ours to do it in sweet and sour stir fry, things like that. Just for a little variety, something different. I have a whole bunch still shredded up from last year that I use for muffins and cookies and cakes and all that kind of stuff. So you can only have so much shredded zucchini. I tried to dry some shredded zucchini this year and it didn't go very well. So that kind of went out the window. I'm almost done with canning. We're doing some meat right now, and I've still got some beets left in the garden that I may can. So when we are all done, we will have another update video at some point, and we will show you the mountain of canned goods that we did this year. should be pretty close to what we did last year. I didn't do a whole lot of canning, but there's still a ton. So if you follow us on Instagram, you know that we are also right in the height of firewood season for us. Usually we're done by now. So it's kind of a testament to how busy we've been this fall that we don't even have the first bin full yet. We've got about another row and just a little skosh there. The other bin, nearly empty. We've got one row in there. And then the third bin, which is kind of behind the camera, is just kind of the overflow stuff. You always get some weird stuff when you're doing juniper that just doesn't stack. Juniper has a lot of branches and different, knots and things that just don't make for a piece that cuts and actually stacks in the wood bin very well. So we will be continuing to do this for probably the next couple weeks. The weather looks like it's going to be pretty good. Kanan is going to be out of town next week, which means I am running the farm by myself pretty much Sunday through Saturday next week. So no wood cutting will happen. We don't do that. Two people must be home for somebody to be operating the chainsaw. We just live far enough out that it's just a good safety measure. So this is definitely going to be happening. We actually had a really brief conversation about buying wood this year. At this point, I'm going to say we're not going to do it. It kind of defeats what we feel is kind of the homesteader mentality. But hey, if we get backed into a corner and the snow comes, you just never know. So the ginormous stack of dirty carriers probably tells you that I am back to showing this fall. Started my first show September 15th, mid-September. I've since done that one, a show in Grants Pass, a show in Albany, a show in McMinnville, and now I am on a break until mid-November when my next show is, and that will pretty much finish me off for the fall show season. This means that, of course, rabbits are coming, rabbits are going. I think we've sold over a dozen rabbits, show rabbits in the last couple weeks anyway. So we've been hard at work with that. On top of that, we are processing rabbits like crazy. So you've probably seen in the videos before where we talked about the fact that we have a cull buyer that we work with that buys our excess meat rabbits. He had been on me for the last year about breeding more because he had demand for it. I finally did, and about 2 weeks before those rabbits were ready for him to buy, he went out with shoulder surgery for 2 to 3 months. So what that meant is we ended up with somewhere between 50 and 70 rabbits that we were not counting on having to butcher ourselves. We are somewhere around, I think Kanan's 24 or so into that group. So we are slowly working on that. My mom has just, taken some of that or rabbit meat rather. I've got a couple other friends and stuff that's going to take some of it. And then I am just going to be canning a whole bunch of it because, like I said, the freezers are full. The dogs are eating well right now. And it will not go to waste for sure, but it was definitely not something we were counting on, which is part of what has slowed us down on getting our firewood all taken care of. So, yeah, the rest of October into early November is going to continue to be for us a very, very busy time. So on the new dome, you can see that the beds are done, the beds are in, the beds are mostly full. They've got the compost layer in. I still need to put a layer of dirt in. And then I actually have some plants that can go in here. So we're going to try to get the cover on this week. We've talked about it a couple different times and had to not do it because the wind got so bad we couldn't get out here and get it done. But I'm going to try to be getting the cover on this before Kanan goes out of town. So if all goes according to plan, we may have our video Saturday about how to actually cover the geodesic dome.
So this year, one of the things we're going to do, probably after I get back from my trip next week, is that we're going to start processing birds. The unfortunate part is we really didn't have a good turkey crop this year, so we don't actually have a Thanksgiving turkey. It's the first time in 4 years that we will not be supplying the family a turkey, probably even our neighbor. Got 5 that hatch very late, that are growing, that are only, well, I don't know, maybe a foot tall or so. But they are just not going to be enough. They're like the popcorn turkeys at this point. So beyond that, we'll have some plenty of ducks. We're going to butcher all of our ducks this year, and I guess some chickens too. So we'll have plenty of poultry to eat. It's just not going to be the traditional stuff. Maybe a Christmas duck, if you're into that, and maybe a Thanksgiving duck, which doesn't seem right. So one of the things we actually did a couple weeks ago is we got another LGD. So got another open female, which is this one back here. Now she doesn't want to pay attention. Champy.
Champy.
Dogs, right? So she's an open female. She is Anatolian and Pyrenees. Uh-oh, here comes the expert. So
Champy is half Anatolian, half Pyrenees. She's a year and a half old, and with a little bit of luck, we will be breeding her in the spring. She looks like she's filling out. She is about 90 pounds now. Hard to say exactly how big she's going to get, but I would imagine once she gets her adult spread on, she'll probably be somewhere around 120 pounds or so.
So when we got Champy home, our new puppy dog, we were told she really didn't have any bad habits other than she couldn't be left alone with poultry, which was fine because she's not out there, she's with goats. What we didn't know was that Champy really should stand for champion jumper. So if you notice the building over there with the door, you can see that there are 2x6s across that. She can hurdle that door without even touching it. And that's a 48-inch door?
52.
It's a 52-inch door that she can just clear like a hurdle. So we got her home, and we immediately put her in there. Within 5 minutes, she was up and over the wall and back out here with us. So we added a panel. Within another 5 minutes, she was up over another wall. We added more panel. Within, 10-15 minutes, we were like, okay, we think we got her. We started walking back to the house. We didn't even get to the house before the dog was outside the pen with us going, hey guys, what's going on? So she can clear a 52-inch door without even touching it, without making a sound. Speak of the devil, you can kind of see that above the door, we now have, I guess you could say, a cattle panel right there. We have had to fortify everything up literally 8 feet to try and keep Champy in. We thought we had her, she went good for 3 days, and we thought we had her, and then one day Nikki came out in the morning. I heard a lot of banging, and sure enough, Champy came out through the llama stall, which she had gone up over a 7-foot wall. Somehow, we don't even know, but she can climb. If she can get her feet in it, her front feet in something, she will climb up over whatever it is. So that day was a 7-foot wall. So we have fortified literally this whole barn up 8 feet every which way. And, well, I'm going to say fingers crossed, we've kept her in multiple days in a row from that. So beyond her being the experimental dog of champions, we went and bought another 2 ton of hay. Our hay supplier this year actually had some extra for some reason, so we went and picked up 2 tons, so we put some in here, plus over in the boys. So you can see the color difference. Kind of the brighter green is the new stuff. The older stuff that's a little sun bleached is on the bottom. Really good stuff. Same quality, a 90-10 split between hay and alfalfa. So probably the last thing we'll talk about is that the goats are, at least the boy goats, are in full-on rut. So if we had smell-o-vision, you guys would be wondering how we could even stand here. There are 4 of them in full-on rut. We have one that is just the champion of stink. And he is just flat nasty. He's orange. He's so stinky. Beyond that, we did sell a couple goats this weekend. So we had two of our, I guess not even yearlings, 2 of our females that were about 6 months old, and 1 of our males that was about the same age, or roughly in that range. So they left to a new home about 45 minutes away. So that is, that's all the goats we're going to sell this year. We're actually going to keep a lot of them, expand the herd out, because next year we're going to have much more pasture. That is one of our goals, to have a lot more pasture for goats to get out and eat kind of the natural grass and the sagebrush and all that stuff, rather than having to feed them all year on hay.
So since Kanan mentioned that they are full on in the rut, which is always disgusting, that does mean that breeding season is upon us. So while he's out of town next week, I am hopefully, fingers crossed that the weather stays good, going to be working on getting some things fixed and moved around in the barns to start moving goats, probably the weekend after he gets home. So it is breeding season. We will be breeding our kinder for the first time, provided that our little 8-month-old buck is up for the deed. And judging from the way he smells, I think he's looking forward to it.
Yep.
We've got our Nigerian dwarfs we'll be breeding again, our Nubians, and our high percentage Nubian boy. We're going to be using him on a couple of crossbreds this year. just to see how he does. So that is going to be coming up very shortly. We will probably film that, the big goat move day.
Yeah, we filmed it last year. It seems like everybody's got a good kick out of it, trying to get goats back and forth and shuffled around.
We also do toenails, worm, and do shots all in the same time. So there's a lot going on. Surprisingly, it only takes us a couple hours, and we have a pretty good-sized goat herd. So that's definitely something that's going to be coming up in the next month.
So as we're wrapping up here, one of the things, you guys have seen some of the comments we've made back and forth to people have asked, where have we been the last month? I do have another YouTube channel that is a side business for me outside of what I do normally and the homestead. It's to deal with cars. I'm a big car enthusiast, so I had some contests and some work there that took me away, took like every afternoon to night to the wee hours of the night before bed to try and get stuff done on the current car I'm building to get it into contests and that. So that took a lot of my focus and time away. So that's a big reason why we're behind at this point, why we don't have all of our firewood in, why we don't have all the animals processed and everything else and everything going. So shame on me, or however you want to call it, but I took time away from that to go work on the other business we have going on and to get that going for next year. And that also involves a trip next week. I will be going for a business pleasure trip, if you would call it, down there to do a bucket list thing for me concerning cars. All right, so that's kind of it where we've been the last month. Honestly, going through it, I don't feel like it sounds like a lot, but it is a lot to clean up all your property and process, you know, she said upwards of 50 to 70 rabbits. I mean, that's a lot, and everything, it's between work and my other stuff and her other stuff. It is a non-stop adventure around here trying to get everything done, and especially trying to get it done before the snow. Hopefully, if we get snow this year, it gets really bad, or even it gets really cold. You got to have everything in and done, so it is a scramble always at this time of year trying to get everything kind of cleaned up and ready for the downtime of winter.
And on top of that, we have we're finally officially out of fire season, have been for a little over a week. And so our county has declared that the open burn window for us starts Saturday. So on top of him going out of town and everything that we have to do, this is one of 2 burn windows in the year where we can actually try to burn limbs and other stuff. We've mentioned this before in other videos that our property actually was part of a fire back in the 90s. So we have a lot of old slash piles that are just rotting away. Too big of stuff to ever chip up. So we are going to be trying to get that ready to burn on top of everything else. Because, you know, homesteaders never sleep. I don't care what people tell you. Homesteaders never sleep. There's no time. Even when you are sleeping, you're dreaming of all the things you've still got to get done.
That's true. So I think that's it. We'll wrap it up there with all the stuff we've been up to and then kind of what's going to be happening over the next month. And I bet it's going to take us another month to really honestly get everything done with me out of town for a week. You got another rabbit show or 2.
Yep.
Work, play, all of it's in there. We got plenty of stuff to keep done. So that is it from Sprague Homestead.
Happy homesteading.
Exactly. We'll see you next time.